Welcome to the Draconic Inquisition. I am your host, Moose.
I'm Hippie.
I'm your co-host, Ramble.
Tank.
And today, where are we? It's pretty dark in here.
I think we made it to the Dragon's Horde? If we light a torch here. Yeah, there's the gold.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot of shiny shit.
Yeah, we'll get to it later.
Alright. First, we need to talk about some stuff.
Always talking with you people.
Yeah, unfortunately. It only makes sense, though. We are going to be introducing ourselves and our DM styles today in the world of tabletop gaming. Hippie, would you like to start us off?
I guess the Hippie will start us off. I've been dungeon mastering / game mastering for about 12 years at this point. The method by which my madness is ruled has evolved over the years. At this current juncture in time, I'm very object-oriented, very planning-oriented. Every bit of prep that goes into one of my sessions, even if it's not used, can be repurposed in a very modular manner into another session or another circumstance. Change the noun, change the verb, and the data can remain the same. I've found this works fairly well, and it's served me well over the years. What about you?
Hi, I'm your host, Ramble, and I'm a fairly new DM. I've been doing it for, 8 months now? And my style is almost the exact opposite. I am a planet-as-you-go sort of DM. Your characters, your player characters are going to be coming up with random off-the-wall things that you can't plan for. And a lot of times, it's more fun to have a living, breathing idea that just kind of goes with the flow. A lot of what I do is based around the characters and how you interact with them, and I will change them, come up with them on the fly. A lot of it is what we refer to as improv, and it's wonderful. It's a headache, but
yeah.
You throw in a little bit of a rough idea in there of locations and events that you want to happen, at least I do, and go from there. How about you?
I am probably the newest DM. I'm a baby DM. Actually, I prefer the name SM because I'm a space master. I've only ran 3 sessions. Yeah, they went okay. But I don't do a lot of planning at this point in time because I've only ran 3. So I don't know how far I got to plan ahead, all that. I'm looking to plan a little bit more, but as of right now, I've pulled everything out of thin air. I've let them all do kind of what they want, and unfortunately, it's done some great things and some ungreat things. Hopefully, I'll get a little bit better with all this, but so far, it's worked out. Everyone seems to enjoy it. The only thing I can see as downside is I do get a massive headache at the end of the night because that's not at all what I was even coming close to thinking of. But that's about it. Nothing more to add to that. Pass that on to the big person himself, Moose.
Moose coming at you. I've been DMing for about 5 years or so. I am familiar with 2nd edition and advanced and 5th edition D&D. Most of my DMing style is, like Ramble, very improvisational. I have a lot of world building, a lot of lore structure, but beyond that, session to session is just pulling shit out of my ass and hoping for the best. I've noticed that players have a tendency, or at least this group, has a tendency to do some rather off-the-wall things, expect the unexpected, and roll with it. Because in the end, you can't really control your people. And I generally go in with a pretty baseline idea of what I want to happen and try to lead them there eventually. Sometimes it takes about 8 sessions, but it works. And with that, I want to lead off. What systems are you all familiar with?
I cut my teeth on 3rd edition. 3.5 was where I spent the vast majority of my time. I graduated to Pathfinder after 4th edition was an enormous disappointment. The bulk of my DMing time has been done in Pathfinder at this point. Recently graduated up to Pathfinder 2nd edition, still getting a handle on that. A lot of the recent playing I've been doing has been done in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, which is easy to get into. I don't have any major problems with it. I kind of miss the modularity and complexity of option for character creation that you get with the older editions of Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder, but it's all good.
Ramble here. I've spent a lot of time with 3.5. That's where I started out. That was most of my play time as a PC. As far as DMing goes, I've only DM'd 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Been a willing participant in Hippie's Pathfinder 2.0 excursion. Not going to say much about that. The system is convoluted.
The book is terrible.
We're still getting used to it.
The system's good. The book was not so good.
Yeah. I would say that's about it for me. 3.5, 5th edition, a little bit of Pathfinder 2. How about you?
I have not really done much DMing besides I did some Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, and those went okay. The system was, like everyone else said, pretty easy to get a grasp on. All that didn't take too long. But the main thing I'm looking to run is Starfinder, which has a lot more information because it is Pathfinder with technology, which always allows for the best of things. The book's pretty easy to get a handle on. System's not too much. You just got to know exactly what you're doing and how you're doing it. But other than that, I mean, dabbled in some Pathfinder with everyone here. Nothing too major. I've had fun with all of them, but that's about it. 5th edition is where I started.
All right.
Passing off.
I would like to kind of start a debate here. Let's kind of cross-examine each other's playstyles and see how you do some problem solving.
Do I have one of those?
You kind of don't, no.
I was like, do I?
You'll get there.
But between different tabletop styles and kind of seeing how you handle players in different situations.
How I've handled it so far is just because I've said earlier of kind of not having a plan is that's the best thing is I don't have a plan. Like the other day, I've had a Karen Barbarian who wanted to ask my guard where the highest priest was. How do you deal with that? You say he's on vacation. He wasn't in town at the moment. Kind of tried to sidewind him into the plot and didn't work. They just wanted to keep asking the guards silly questions. So just kind of got to roll with things, and hopefully they will eventually get the hint that, hey, I would like you to go this way.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to do is whenever you have a player who's like begging an NPC for more information, it's like there's no more information to give. You're looking for this person. Don't ever give them that person if it's not important. It's not necessary.
Or on the flip side of that, you give them something completely off the wall and you send them on a wild goose chase and just divert what they're doing anyways because they're not paying attention. Are you going to reward them for it? No. But they're going to get some more information that they asked for. Is it pertinent? No. Are they going to progress the story? Nope. They're going to get loot? Definitely not.
True, but you have to look at it in the case of a one-shot. You don't really have the time to do that.
That's fair.
Especially when your players have already wasted hours of time in the town.
What? It was okay.
Yeah. That said, don't dangle carrots that don't exist.
But carrots exist everywhere. There's a carrot fold right outside that city at all times.
And there could be, but save those carrots for, like, revisiting the town or something else.
How's our planner doing? We're all improv DMs. What are you thinking?
The planner DM is out of his element because this wasn't in the itinerary.
It wasn't planned for.
It wasn't planned for. I'm lost.
Well, come up with something. Like, how do you handle player issues?
Player issues.
Like looking for things that aren't there or things that you aren't prepared for.
Player looking for something that I'm not prepared for them to look for. Something that's not going to be relevant to the story. Something that they're not supposed to find. A lot of it can be traded down to who they're talking to. They're talking to a barkeep, trying to track down information on so and so. The barkeep doesn't know. The barkeep tells them this. If they continue trying to dig with the barkeep, what would anyone do in that situation? Lie and give them false information and make them leave them alone.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah, I personally don't really have a whole lot of input on this because I kind of agree with you guys. Like, if there's something that shouldn't be there, don't put it there.
And worst case scenario, the dungeon master can always say, this isn't a relevant line of questioning. We're holding up the rest of the session. Drop it.
That's true.
That's a pretty good point to that. Sometimes you break immersion. You say, hey, look, team, we're not going anywhere.
Right.
If you want to play more, we have to do something else.
That is true, and that's a pretty good example for Saturday. Like, you flipped a switch, and you all went off in a direction I never expected you all to go, and I ran out of content.
Yep.
I'm like, I need time to sit and think about this and figure out where this is going and where you all want to head and kind of prepare for something after that.
So where your world is actually pretty well defined and mine isn't, that's probably something that I have the advantage on, is that if you all flip a switch and go somewhere else, I just make it up.
Right.
It doesn't exist because you haven't seen it yet. And if you go somewhere off the wall and do something I don't expect, I just can come up with something that I plan to have somewhere else and just say, hey, it happens to be right there, or this content now exists.
Right. And something I find interesting, the difference between you and me, is we're both improv DMs. We both have vast custom worlds. And you have some structure there. You have towns and cities built. You have the Underdark that you have. And different provinces and such. And meanwhile, my map is created as you guys go along. It's completely improv in that sense of, it didn't exist until this session, so now I have to put it on the map.
Yeah.
And then it becomes solid.
Several people are looking at hippie, so I suppose I will put my own little spin on what's being discussed in terms of world building and the world building around the players. I have the world set in my mind as a theme. The world set in my mind is something that's going to have a general feel to it, a genre. And in a lot of cases, I will flesh out the world with towns and cities and locations and maps. And in other situations, when something comes up, so the players enter town X, Y, or Z. X, Y, or Z has such and such properties, but the fog of war is lifted as the players interact with the world in this particular location, and the details are filled out via their interactions with the world. So I will start with a town with 3 or 4 properties inherent to that town, and everything else is filled out based on the player character's interaction with that location.
Now, do you build... I have a question, though. Do you pre-build NPCs, or do you just kind of come up with them on the fly?
I have a handy-dandy notebook of a few pre-built NPCs. If the players don't run into one of those characters, and the manner in which I envisioned that they would run into them. They can run into a different NPC with the same set of properties, and whatever situation would lead them to seeking out an NPC. Waste not, want not.
Makes sense.
So you seem to have a fairly set algorithm for what you do in terms of NPC generation and for if this input is put in, this is what you're going to get. I personally just create people. My favorite characters are the ones that I didn't anticipate making.
Mm-hmm.
That said, we all have fairly decent worlds. They've been built. We have ideas around them. There's a couple other variants of DMing that I'd like to point out. There's ones where you focus on your player characters. The story is about them versus a world. You have the world. You know exactly what's going to happen on May 31st, 2576. I know someone who DMs around us that his world is fully fleshed. He's been working on it for years. He simply puts the players in there and they interact with it and they follow a path that he has created, and it's wonderful. Versus us who build our stories around our characters.
Mm. And I want to point out something too. None of us really we don't really do a linear DM style where everything is really set in stone. Go toward the thing, keep doing the thing all game long.
Railroading.
Yep. And I think that partially comes from the fact of how we play as well.
We're very role play heavy versus role play heavy.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the only DMing or D&D, Pathfinder, whatever you want to call it. My only thing is that I've only DM'd, played with this group, so I've only known the style of going with, I mean, my first session, I went and got a giant pink chicken, intimidated, and then bought it for less money. Because I was like, you can do whatever you want. I'm going to go do this. I got the look of, what are you doing? And I was like, I want a giant pink chicken. I now have a giant pink chicken, and he is so happy with it.
Yep.
So that's really where my style comes from, is I've just looked at everyone I've played with, everyone I've seen DM, and I've really been happy with how they've done it. I mean, I can't knock them for anything, so that's kind of where mine's coming from, is those around me.
All right. Well, if anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to contact us. Otherwise, I believe this is the end of our first session.
Sweet Alhuba! The kobolds! No! Grab the kobolds, get out of here!